Well, thank you for being here. I'm always a little surprised by the amount of people that show up to these. In one way, in another way, I'm really not. Because events like this is really about the city of Homewood. Certainly not about me. I just get to be the messenger. But before I get started, I want to take just a second to introduce some special people in the room. We'll circle back around. I'm going to introduce the council, but we'll come back and talk about them in a few minutes. The first person I want to thank is for being here is Lauren. She's here with me this evening, and appreciate all that she does for me, including keeping me organized and not stressing me out the last couple of days. She just pretty much does everything for me, and that just gives me a little time to get all of this ready. So I appreciate everything that she does. JJ Bischoff, everybody in the room knows JJ, and I would not do this job without him. JJ serves as my chief of staff for the city, and he and I served on the council for 8 years together, and he just does a tremendous job. But I think his best title to me is friend. Every time I turn around, he's there. Good, bad, indifferent, you can always count on him. So JJ, thank you for all that you do for me. Paul DeMarco, Paul's here in the back. David Faulkner, our state representative. David was here earlier, but did say he had to slip out in a little bit, but he came by to check on us. Dr. Bill Cleveland, our school superintendent, and old Samford buddy of mine is here. City Council, Miss Jennifer Andrus, Britt Thames, Alex Wyatt, Barry Smith, Mike Higginbotham, and Brother Andy Gwaltney. Am I missing anybody? Is there council at any other table that I haven't seen? I think Bruce is out of town. Walter had to be out of town, but they sent their regards and appreciate everything that the council does. And then my old buddy Scott Butler, he's here today. Appreciate Scott. And my neighbor across the street, Kyle Bass, who said he wanted his money back if this wasn't any good. Kyle and I have an ongoing bet. We both live on Broadway, and we always leave our Christmas trees up. Just see who can leave it up the longest, at least till people start talking about us. But we're really big Alabama fans, and traditionally we try not to take that down until after the championship game. A lot of trees came down that night. But it was good. So again, thank you for being here. This is, I guess now my 10th year to serve as mayor or 10th State of the City address. Lauren asked me this morning, she said, "Are you nervous?" And I said, "Nope, I'm not," which was kind of a story. I don't get nervous about what I have to say about our city of Homewood. The only thing I ever get nervous about is whether or not we can do justice representing such a great city and such great people. So even though I'm not nervous about the things that we're going to say, I always trust and pray that the city of Homewood is placed in a positive light. And I think we're able to do that. I get the pleasure every year of telling you from my perspective as mayor how the city of Homewood's doing. And I've learned over the years that being a mayor and doing a mayor's job are two totally different things. Being mayor, I get to do a lot of ribbon cuttings. I get to do interviews on TV, read proclamations throughout the year, a lot of proclamations. But doing a mayor's job is is much, much different. It's those times when I'm not so visible, times spent with department heads, developing new and better ways of accomplishing objectives. Time spent alone thinking about ways to enhance our city, focusing on new ideas, evaluating old ideas, and discussing our city's future with close and trusted friends who always tell me the truth no matter what, whether I like it or whether I don't. Doing a mayor's job sometimes requires me to look at the big picture first and then focus on the actions needed in order to make it happen. It's why I always try to begin. Things work a lot easier for me if I can kind of begin with the end in mind. So when the council or department heads want to talk about a project, if I can envision that end result, that's the part I enjoy. And then you can kind of back up and start and see what you need to do to get there. So my message this afternoon really is designed to talk about the past year. We'll do that some. How did we do? But the message also has to include the coming year. Where are we going? The qualities that will determine the success of us as leaders and residents in our city remain constant. Character, honesty, civility, and it's more important now, I believe, at this time in our country that we stand firm, tell people the truth, and then make decisions that affect our city in a positive way. Homewood's a very exciting and vibrant city. We've been blessed, we really have been. We've seen tremendous growth over the past few years, and again, just been blessed. Hard-working families make up our city, and they, like so many others, want what's best for their family. Our neighbors are trying to make a good living, trying to raise their family. They want the best education that their children can possibly have. Many are running profitable businesses, and it's incumbent on us as city leaders to help with that endeavor. And we have a school system, I believe, that's second to none. Many families pay a tremendous price to live in our city in order to enjoy our school system. And it's a testament, Bill, Dr. Cleveland, it really is. It's a testament to you and to our school system, along with our board, whose character is unmatched. Because of them, our children have the distinct privilege and opportunity to learn in the finest facilities from some of the finest educators. And again, Dr. Cleveland, for that, we are certainly grateful for that. So if y'all could give the school system a hand. We have so much to be thankful for. Every year I enjoy talking about our police and fire department in particular. Debbie's given me some stats for the library, so we're going to kind of go over that too. But I really believe that we just have the finest police and fire departments in the country. And I think their actions bear that out year after year. What the men and women do every day, putting their own lives in jeopardy to protect us, it takes a special person to serve a community and to serve others in that way. Chief Ross talked a few minutes ago about the tragedy that Birmingham suffered. And we all feel that loss when a department loses someone in the line of duty. And I think sometimes one of my biggest fears as mayor is getting that call from one of my chiefs. I think we naturally think about someone getting killed in the line of duty as being a police officer, and that certainly does happen from time to time. I think I saw on the news where there had been 6 in the last 4 days, which is ridiculous. But firefighters also face that risk as well. But you don't see a lot of that, and it doesn't get a lot of attention. But when you walk into a home and you can't see, and it's on fire, and they're trying to save a family, and you have floors collapsing, and obviously fire around you, it is not for the it's not for the weak. So, Chiefs, I appreciate both your departments for all that you do. We've got some statistics for the police department, so Chief Ross, if I can just get you to stand while I read these out so you can represent the police department. This past year, the men and women of the Homewood Police Department answered the call 72,990 times. That's how many times the phone rang in dispatch. Almost 73,000 times. They were dispatched on 41,228 calls for the year, which was a 5% increase from last year, just a little over 5. As a result, our officers made 3,276 misdemeanor arrests, an increase from 33% last year. Our officers conducted well over 15,000 traffic stops and issued over 12,000 citations. This increased effort and emphasis has had amazing results over the past 3 years. And when I selected Tim as my chief, it was one of the things that we agreed on. Was I wanted our residents to see an increased presence in our police department, which means making contact with people. I don't really care if you get a ticket, but if you're speeding, I really do want you pulled over. If there's nothing else to say, just slow down. He knows as well as I do, the tickets given number doesn't excite me that much. I know people think cities make a ton of revenue off of that. We really don't. The state probably makes more than we do on it. But when someone sees someone pulled over, it just brings up that awareness that, hey, they're in the area. So guess what? People who are cruising around wanting to look at your house while you're out working, a lot of times they decide to go and do something else, somewhere else, which is the goal. So again, over the past 3 years, overall crime is down an average of 30%. Burglaries down an average of 42%. Robberies down an average of 33%. And vehicle burglaries down an average of 31%. So, Chief Ross, thank you and your team for all that you do for the city of Homewood. Chief Bresnan with the fire department, if I can ask you to stand. Our fire department last year responded 4,511 times. 2,981 times of those were for medical emergencies, and 96 times to actual fires. Their actual response time last year was 6 minutes and 14 seconds, which I just think is an incredible achievement. When you think from going to either sound asleep or sitting there at the station and the call comes in to get up, get your gear, get in your vehicle, and be on scene in 6 minutes. I can't find my coffee cup within 6 minutes. So, Chief, I appreciate everything that y'all do. Not only did they do that, but they also spent a total of 62,044 hours conducting training in fire suppression, EMS operations, technical rescue operations, hazmat operations, performed maintenance and painted 697 fire hydrants around the city, and tested 21,500 feet of hose. That's over 4 miles. And as if that wasn't enough, performed approximately 3,100 business inspections and 240 pre-fire planning visits to numerous schools, churches, and businesses. And something else for the fire department this year, which is huge for our fire department and for our city, is, I'm not sure how many of you realize it or not, but Homewood now has an ISO ranking of 1, Class 1, in the state of Alabama. I have an email that I just want to read that Brandon Broadhead had sent to me, and he said it better than I could say about a Class 1 rating and what that means, and just kind of how big a deal that is. But he said, in part, we'd also like to note the achievement of the ISO Class 1 rating. We're extremely proud of this accomplishment, as it speaks volumes to the dedication of the men and women we have working at the Homewood Fire and Rescue. According to the website ISO Mitigation, only 329 out of 42,083, 329 out of over 42,000 departments nationwide achieve an ISO rating of Class 1. That is less than 1%. It's 0.78. In the state of Alabama, only 11 out of 1,462 departments achieve an ISO rating of Class 1. This is also less than 1%, 0.75. This achievement places Homewood in the top 1% of fire departments both in Alabama and across the nation. So, Chief President, tremendous amount of thanks to you and your team for all the work that you had to do to achieve that ranking. So, thank you to you and your team. I'm really grateful for all my department heads, our planning and engineering departments. They work hard to ensure plans coincide with our master plan. Wyatt, thank you so much for all you do. You know, which, by the way, I just, all of this correlates. Our homes are so close together, and when you think about 96 actual fires, and you think about inspections and all that that team does, they really do have to work together to ensure the overall safety of our city and our residents. So thank y'all for working together so well. Our IT department, James, I'm not sure if James is here, but James is here. And then Steve's up in the box up top. They work hard to make sure our information flows smoothly between departments. Fleet maintenance, Gordon. Gordon, thank you for all that you do, keeping our rolling fleet in order. Gordon and his team, every time our police department, it doesn't matter if it's 2 o'clock in the morning or 2 in the afternoon, if they get into a pursuit, those guys are coming in to check those vehicles again to make sure that they're safe before they go out on the road. And Gordon, I really do appreciate you being here. He gave it one last ditch effort yesterday. He literally stopped me in the street and said, "Didn't I get an email saying I didn't have to come?" I said no. Berkeley Squires is here. Berkeley does a great job, not only with our park board, making sure that our kids have places to play, but you know, Berkeley also heads our street and sanitation, one of the most loved departments in our city. So thank you, Berkeley. Debbie Fouch, she's continued the tradition that Homewood's enjoyed by keeping our library name not only one of the finest in Jefferson County, but in the state of Alabama as well. Debbie and her team had over 450,000 visits to our library this past year. Total collection use was over 763,000. The library had 1,487 programs this past year attended by nearly 80,000 people. Over 1,540 children participated in the summer reading program, which is an all-time high, and the public held over 3,000 meetings at our library. So, Debbie, thank you for all that you do, you and your team at the library. And if you haven't heard, we've got some exciting additions happening at the library. Debbie and her library board finally twisted my arm so bad that I couldn't say no. And it was time. It was time for our library to get some much needed upgrades and really represent, have our library really represent our city, which they do, but it was kind of tired. The library was kind of tired. So Paul, Debbie, all of you, thank y'all for everything that you do, and we look forward to making all those improvements in the upcoming year. John Morgan, not sure if John's here or not, but John's our magistrate and does a great job maintaining, operating our court system. Robert Burgett, who serves our city clerk and our finance director. Where's Robert? Somewhere? There he is. Robert, thank you and your team. They work really hard to provide my office with accurate information and to the council, and it's important they're comfortable with the numbers that they're given so they can make good financial decisions. It's hard to make financial decisions if you're not sure of the numbers. So, Robert, thank you for all you do. That process takes such a great deal of time and effort, and there are literally hundreds of line items ranging from electricity to dog food for the canines. The process has steadily progressed, and we've been tracking expenses now for quite some time, and revenues by line item. One thing that I've never done and will never do is move funds from one line item to another without council approval for two reasons. Number one, it keeps all our finances above board, ensuring that everyone is informed. And two, it gives us an accurate reflection in history of the line item for mid-year and year-end review. So when I present my proposed upcoming budget to the council, we can give them a 3-year history on every single line item in the budget, making it easier for them as a council person or resident to understand why the proposed funding is being requested. And I do take a great deal of pride in presenting the budget to my neighbors serving on the council, because I believe our budget addresses much more than funding. It represents character and honesty and the intended direction of our city. The council's always trusted my budgets, and we work very hard making sure we never give them a reason not to trust it. It's been said that government does not produce revenues, it consumes it. But I'm happy to report that since becoming mayor in 2008, this city has ended every single year with a surplus, meaning our expenses has never exceeded our revenues. And it hadn't been easy, but I can guarantee you it is worth it. By completing each year with a surplus, employees don't have to fear losing their jobs, capital projects continue, and it's proof to the residents they have a government that can and will work within a budget. It's probably one of the most important things I do as mayor is the budget, because it gives us a starting line, it gives us a finish line. And I will tell you that at this time, I was going to do it a little later, but y'all are sitting there looking at me, and I've got to say it. But I can't tell you what a tremendous job my council does. They work very hard, not only representing their wards or their districts, but they're very conscientious. They're very good at long-term thinking, not just short-term fixes. And I appreciate the time and the energy that it takes to serve on the council. It's not easy. It's not a 30-minute meeting once a week. I've been there, so maybe that helps me have even more appreciation for what you do. But I just want to publicly say how much I appreciate and enjoy working with y'all and what you do for the city. So I'd just like for y'all to stand up. I called your names earlier, but just stand together as a group and let everybody see who you are. Y'all give them a round. Thank y'all. The book of Proverbs tells us that where there's no vision, the people perish. So again, I just take the opportunity to thank the council for helping me carry out the visions that we have for the city. By working together, we'll continue to enhance our vision, enhance our unity, and promote ideas that will enhance the livability and workability of our city. Look, the state of the city of Homewood is excellent. It's strong, and it's getting stronger every day because of the businesses here working hard to provide what people want, and because you still have a government in place that refuses to spend more than it brings in. It's good business. It's good government. And I'm proud to be just a small part of that. So to help kind of put all of that in perspective, a few years ago some people had said you kind of read out these numbers during the State of the City address, but I'm more of a visual person, and I am too. What if we could make a slideshow presentation? So we've done that. The problem with that is that with my reading glasses I can't see it, but y'all can. The other thing I would ask is if I step off the end of the stage, at least help me up before you laugh. So this is just a review of our fiscal year. The city began the year with an approved budget that had budgeted revenues equaling budget expenditures, therefore no planned use of carryover fund balance. And that's big. When I first become mayor, the only way we could balance the budget was to basically use a carryover fund. And it drove the council crazy, and it drove me crazy, and I'd beg them to pass my budget, and I would promise them that, yes, we've got a carryover fund, but I promise you if you'll let me manage this thing, we won't use any of it. And we never did. So not only would we have the use of the carryover fund not spent, we saved additional money, and we ended up with some really good surpluses at the end of the year. I won't read all of this, but if we can, Steve, next slide. So there's our cash balance on hand, end of November. There's our general fund checking plus our payroll. Reserve for economic uncertainty, that was zero in 2008, a little over 11 million now. Just shows all of our different funds, 7 cents, 4 and 5 cents. That's where road paving and all that comes into play. Our debt service fund, that's an important one, 10.5 million on it, 5.4 in our capital projects. Steve? Everything from 911, our general obligation warrants, 72 million there in Raymond James, giving us a total of a little north of 128 million. Account holds 2016 bond proceeds to be used for the West Homewood Park and Pool, our new public safety center, and of course the Board of Education school infrastructure improvements. This is probably my favorite slide out of all of them. Starting in 2009, it just shows you our surpluses at the end of each year. So starting in 2015, I proposed to the council that we start bonusing our employees for helping us achieve surpluses. I think that reflects more of what businesses, it's the way you operate a business. If you got great employees who are helping you achieve goals, then I think you reward them for that. So beginning in 2015, this number right here is great. It's more than that. But what we choose to do, and it's great to have choices, it's great to be in a position financially to be able to choose. So you'll see on average here that you take this past year, we had a $709,000 surplus. But that's after paying $325,000 in bonuses and transferring $1 million to the Capital Projects Fund and debt service. So you really add 1.325 to this number if you want to know what the surplus would have been. Okay, so right at $2 million. But that lets me sleep at night, having that kind of cash on hand. But I'll still take a $756,000 a year surplus average. But now the scary part, and I always ask this question usually every year, any idea how much it costs to operate the city of Homewood per day? Per day. About $100,000. Okay? When you add everything together. I try not to think about that number too much. Because $756,000 sounds really great, and it is, but it's 7.5 days. Okay. Next slide. Just a budget overview. General fund budget, $52 million. Capital, $8.2. Our accountants love putting together all these notes. We've got those, and all this is going to be online as well, so any of you that want to go back and look at this, you certainly can. Steve? Ongoing capital projects, Lakeshore, the I-65 Diamond Interchange. I know that was a little discussion last night. We'll see how that plays out. We have asked AlDOT to move up the time frame on that intersection, of course, with the stuff they've got going on with the 2059. We'll see how that goes. The new public safety facility, so we've got about a $22 million facility going in over in West Homewood on Bagby Drive. It's going to be gorgeous. Construction of the West Homewood Park and Pool. I don't know how many of you had a chance to go by and see the aquatic center over there. We've invested about $6 million in it. Jennifer here, she has worked really hard on the 280 pedestrian bridge, continued sidewalk construction and ADA compliance of existing sidewalks, Greenway 2 construction, 18th Street renovation, and again, continued paving. So the council approved a 2% COLA, and not only a 2% COLA, we continued the merit increases and approved the bonuses to employees of $375,000 for that. And one thing too, a lot of people don't realize that when we give a bonus and we promise them that if you've been here this amount of time, this is when we calculate what your bonus is going to be, we say that they don't open their check and it be less than what we said that it was going to be because taxes came out. The city pays the taxes on that. We up it to, so if we said you were going to get $2,000, you get $2,000. Okay, fair enough? Somebody wanted to clap. The employees, obviously. So again, kind of like the previous page, West Homewood, Public Safety, Courts, Board of Education, downtown, the hotel development, redevelopment plan for Wildwood, renovation of Spring Park over in Rosedale. So I think the council is really doing a good job helping me invest in all areas of our city. And I think that's really, really important. That was the last of the slide. Steve, thank you. Robert, thank you for you and your team putting all that together for me. So I'm proud of those numbers, and not just because of surpluses, because of what it represents when community leaders can work together for some pretty amazing results. There may be some things we have to apologize for, but we will never have to apologize for being fiscally irresponsible. As you saw in the presentation, there's some exciting things happening in the way of opportunities. The road swap really with Aldott for Green Springs, we're still working on that as well. I mentioned that last year. I just want to see Aldott's agreement put in writing before I'm willing to make that final swap, but I think we're very close to that. We talked about the public safety. The $6 million aquatic center at Patriot Park is on pace, and the addition of Gianmarco's Pizzeria over in West Homewood's been just a great boost for that area. Brookwood Mall is continuing to bring in new tenants. Wildwood's making improvements to their development. And lastly, our new ball fields being built over in West Homewood. And then Brett and Andy, $350,000 for Spring Park in Rosedale. So I think all of this can kind of be summed up by saying, somebody give me the time. I want to be respectful. What time is it? Don't say it's time. She said, time. What time is it? 1:19. I got to hurry. Two things real quick. I think for me, the thing that helps me, the principles that help me lead as mayor, to be honest, is pretty simple. One's the Matchbox car rule, which really is about managing financially and effort. Okay? I'm going to cut this down real short, as bad as I want to talk about it. When I was a little boy, how many of you ever had Matchbox cars? How many in the room have heard me talk about this before? Okay. How many of you remember what the reason behind it is? Okay, the accountants do. Great. That's the best news I've heard all day. If my accountants get it, I'm happy. So let me just kind of sum it up like this. Matchbox car rule, when I was a little boy, kind of like Fortnite and Xbox is today. Matchbox cars was huge when I was little. And they were 99 cents. We had an acre of grass that I had the privilege of cutting when I was a little boy. Our yard was an acre. And my mom and dad discussed it, and they thought the value of that work was $1. So I got $1 for cutting the grass. I thought it was a great deal. I was such a perfectionist. Most of the time I finished cutting it the first time, it didn't look good enough, so I'd cut it again. Okay? I wanted it right. But I got $1. And I was so excited when I was going to go buy my first Matchbox car, except when I realized that I didn't have enough money, even though 99 cents was how much the car was going to cost, or how much they said it cost. But they didn't include the tax. Okay? And I didn't have enough money to pay the 99 cents plus the 5% tax in Mississippi that we had at the time. So I was a little short. My mom and dad didn't feel sorry for me and just say, well, here's the extra money. What my dad said is, well, next week you're going to have the opportunity to make another $1. And then when you have $2, you can get your 99-cent Matchbox car. And that really is how I run the city. And again, I'm grateful that I've got now it's a little more complicated than that now. So I don't want to be too flippant about that, but I guess my point is that I appreciate working in a city that when we make commitments, we have the money to back it up. Okay? That's very, very important to me. And it's important to the employees and it's important to our residents, whether they understand that or not. And then again, the effort part of this, look, it's easy. How can I say this in a nice way? There have been people who have spent a lot of time before us. Lauren and I are going to go see a buddy of mine who I fish with all the time. As soon as this is over, we're going to the hospital to see him. He probably won't live through the week. And Dal served on the council for a few years. And I got a call yesterday as I was kind of working on this speech. I got his grandson called. And he said, Scott, he said, Papa wants to tell you something. And I got on the phone and he just wanted to call a few of his buddies to say goodbye. And Dal was the guy who I went to when I first ran for the council to say something I want to do, but I don't know how to do it. Dal had served on the Homewood Council before, and he said, I've got a little lady that I'm going to take you to see. If she likes you, you're in. If she don't, we're going to both get in the truck and leave. But from there, he kind of become like a grandfather to me and spent a lot of time. But you know, Dal and Pokey Forrester, some of those old guys that some of you may remember and some of you don't. My point is you probably don't remember them, and that's okay. But it cost them an election by developing Wildwood. People in Homewood were just furious that they would have the audacity to let a shopping center go in Wildwood, which is where Walmart and Sam's and all that is now. So they didn't do what benefited them. They knew it was going to cost them. They knew they weren't going to get to serve again. But today we enjoy the results of their decision years later. So a lot of times the council doesn't make decisions that really is best and easiest for them. We try to make decisions that we believe will be best for the city tomorrow, next year, and in 20 years when people go, I really don't remember who that was. What kind of legacy are we going to leave? You know, what kind of people do we want to attract? What kind of employees do we want? How are we going to treat them? How do you treat them at your job? JJ showed me a little thing yesterday. Steve Jobs basically said, why do we hire the smartest people and then try to tell them what to do? Okay? And you give them these little parameters, little boxes that they can live in. Don't think any different than this. Don't do any different than what the company says you can do on this. I want my team here in Homewood to kind of be turned loose. We've got rules and regulations, all that kind of stuff, but some of our best ideas come from people who are our employees. And when you talk with them and you say, why do we do things like this? And everybody goes, I don't know, because that's how it's always been done. Okay, well, who said do it that way? I don't know. The guy I got the job from, that's the way they did it, and that's just the way we've always done it. But it doesn't mean that that's the best way to do it. So get out of your box, get out of the way you're thinking, get out of being kind of stuck in a rut, okay? Because a rut really is nothing except a grave with both ends kicked out of it, right? I had to get one funeral director joke in, I'm sorry. But Homewood is on an exciting path. And I'm grateful that you want to be a part of that. If you have a home in Homewood, I think you're pretty excited right now for all the things that's happening with our property values and all the development and all the things that, and I'll say smart development, okay? I think it's pretty much been controlled, and we have a lot of groups that things have to kind of go through to get to an end result, but Homewood really has been blessed, and we want that to continue. So I'm way over our time. I could literally stand and talk about Homewood all day long and the exciting things that we have, but I just appreciate you allowing me to serve as mayor. I appreciate you allowing these council people to serve in their capacity. We've always just kind of had an understanding. We kind of know what our titles are, but we really don't care. When we go in, the best title to get things done is neighbors. And I think that's just kind of what we do on Monday nights. We just go up there as a group of neighbors and try to make decisions that leave our city in a position to win at the end of the night. And I think they've been very successful in being able to do that, and appreciate you and for allowing us to be a small part of that. And I hope you have a great 2019, and if the Office of the Mayor can help you in any way, give us a call. We'll do anything that we can to help you. And thank you.